there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, we have Heather Shoffner, the Chief Operations Officer at Roccor. And Roccor is a space and military product company, but I'm going to let Heather tell you even more about it. Heather, how you doing today?
I'm great, Steve. Thank you very much for having me today.
You bet. I appreciate you being on. Happy Friday. Friday afternoons, everybody's always in a good mood, aren't they?
Absolutely, especially with this gorgeous weather.
Right. I actually did a podcast one time. I think it was titled "What to Ask Your Boss on Friday," and the whole podcast was centered around, if you're looking to work from home one day a week, or you need a raise, or you want to have pizza Fridays or whatever, you just hit your boss on Fridays with those things. They're usually in a better mood.
Yep, that's a great thought.
But hey, tell the listeners a little about yourself.
Absolutely. So I've, been in manufacturing here in Colorado, specifically in the Front Range, since 1993, and started leading teams a little over 20 years ago. And I've had the privilege of having about 12 of my years of experience in high-tech startups and high-tech startup environments, including Roccor. So my background is in supply chain and operations, and right now, most recently here working for Roccor on the executive team as the COO.
Congratulations on a very nice career so far. Of course, I looked up your LinkedIn profile and studied everything I could about you. Quick question: how does somebody that is gets a degree in English and writing end up leading a space company? How does that work?
That's a fantastic question. It's interesting. What I often tell people is, I studied English for 5 years, and I've been studying manufacturing, leadership, and operations for the last 26 years. But really how it happened was I got my first job out of school working with an advertising company and making catalogs and print media. So I was working with suppliers and supply chains and managing inventory. I just didn't know it and didn't have those words for it. And I moved from Illinois to Colorado and immediately started work as a temp at Micromotion and got bit by the manufacturing bug and just continued on that journey ever since.
Isn't it, how often do you see that, right? All the time usually it's that first job right out of college, or maybe it was an internship or something that kind of steered somebody in a certain direction. It happens so often. Congratulations on the career so far. And by the way, congratulations on the recent, the spot at Roccor as the COO. I think that's new, isn't it?
It is new. I've been here a total of 3 months. I started early December of last year.
That's great. Congrats on that. That's a perfect segue. Tell us a little bit about Roccor.
Yeah, so Roccor was founded in 2011. There were 3 founders at the time, and their roots are in contract design engineering. About 2013, they had a great reputation for just really pleasing customers and serving the SBIR market, and really started to have their customers ask for them to move up the food chain and really provide hardware and deliverables as well. And so, 8 years in business. Like I said, I joined in December, and I was employee 38, and we're anticipating to be at 52 employees by the end of 2019.
Some nice growth. I mean, what an exciting industry to be in, right? I mean, gosh, I'm assuming that's a growth industry for space or anything around that. And so for layman's terms, for guys like me that may not understand what you're talking about, basically Roccor will take a phone call from a manufacturer that needs a specific part designed or developed or something like that. Can you give me a little more layman's term kind of view there?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that really differentiates Roccor is they're known for helping customers navigate what they are actually looking for. So the customer may not actually come with us to us with a specification or with an idea even of what they're looking for. And so the talented engineering team here really helps them devise a solution for the application that they're pursuing. So everything from we got our roots in high-strength composites and deployable booms, and now, we're diversifying it across product lines into solar array technology, thermal power, and other spaces.
Wow. Okay. I met Chris Pearson, the CEO. What a great guy. Super, inspirational guy. I just, immediately I wanted to be around him, and I could see, if he was on a bus in the mountains and it crashed, and he kind of looked at 25 people and said, "Okay, everybody, we're going this way." I'd fall right in line.
Yep, that's a large reason why I'm here.
That's great. Did he recruit you, or did you know somebody, or how did that happen?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So, I was at Honeybee Robotics, which is, probably just a couple miles down the road here in South Longmont. But I had worked with Caroline Corwine, who's the director of quality here at Roccor. She and I actually did a stint in CadTel Solar back in 2009 for about 4 years together. And so she reached out when she knew that Roccor was looking for adding operations and strengthen operations. I had operations, supply chain, and some aerospace background. So we started having a conversation, and immediately, it became a very serious conversation when I did meet the leadership team, including Chris Pearson, Will Francis, Mark Lake, Doug Campbell. And it's a very compelling and interesting team and fun to be a part of.
Who was it then? Who was it again that introduced you or that contacted you? What was her name?
Caroline Corwine, the director of quality.
Gotcha. Yep. Can you tell Caroline that she's my enemy forever because Riderflex was supposed to do the search for that position? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking around. No, I'm super happy for you. No, it sounds like, I know Chris, and in fact, I got to meet Mark, and I was in the building for a visit one day. So, it really seems like a great culture. You could just kind of, you could feel a nice culture when you walked in, and it's someplace you want to be, and super smart people walking around too, which always helps.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that overview of Roccor. So if somebody wanted to get into this industry and specifically work for Roccor, talk about the type of person you're looking for, right? What type of candidates are you trying to recruit for that culture?
The culture is really important. One of the compelling things to me is, the fact that there's been so much thoughtfulness put into the value of culture, and really the whole benefit of having a culture that is desirable, fun, friendly, flexible, is to really get the maximum creativity out of the people that are coming in to the organization, so they feel fully supported, fully trusted, that they're valued, they can collaborate openly with people. And so what I would say is for folks coming in to interview with Roccor, we're really looking for the people that are best in their role. So whether that's in the engineering side, systems engineering, mechanical engineering, or whether it's on the operational side, we're looking for, those folks that are really, really talented at what they do. And we're looking for people that align with those values, transparency, candidness, collaboration, teamwork.
Good. That's good. You guys do a pretty good job with your social media. I think maybe an outsider would think, parts for satellites and space stuff, scientists, maybe all those people are boring with no personality, but really your social media doesn't say that at all. You guys do a pretty good job of saying, hey, we have personality over here. We work really hard, but we have fun too. So I wanted to compliment you guys on that.
Well, thanks. I was really impressed when my new employee orientation included the tour of the beer fridge.
Exactly. That's, you guys got personality and style, and that's what makes it an awesome place to work, I'm sure. By the way, you mentioned the word how your engineers help the customer figure out what they want and what they want designed. I'm going to start calling our recruiters like something like, I don't know, engineer recruiter or something, or because we actually help our clients do the same. They come to us and they go, well, I think I'm looking for a VP of marketing, but I'm not quite sure. And then we help design the job spec. So I'm going to tell Kelly and some of the others that they're really engineers. They just didn't know it.
Great thought.
when you're interviewing people, and you've been in a leadership role for a super long time, so lots of experience. You've interviewed, hired hundreds and hundreds. Have you developed a couple of favorite questions that you like to ask during the interview process?
I absolutely have. And what I've found is what's the core of what I really want to get to, beyond, the phone screen and the resume screen where I know somebody is technically qualified for the position, is my three favorite questions boil down to what attracted you about the job posting that we have out there? What attracted you to the company in general? And especially in the case of Roccor, I'm looking for the things for the candidate to articulate about what was attractive and unique about Roccor so that I can tease out those elements of the values. And then lastly, what elements of this role are the most important and what gets you the most excited about this role?
I like all of those. I think my favorite is, what is it about Roccor that makes you want to work here? I mean, because that's what it's really about, right? I mean, they have to match the culture, the mission. Like you want somebody that not just looking for a job. And by the way, I am so amazed at how many times I get somebody on a video interview and they really just don't know anything about the company. And I just want to reach through the screen and grab them by the neck and say, what are you doing? You don't even know if you're interviewing for this job and you have no idea whether or not you're even interested in the company. It's so important. So important.
It's very important. It's always really nice when they take an interest and show a passion about, what we're doing and can speak intelligently already before we educate them.
Boy, and right away, right? And just in the first couple of questions, whether or not they did their homework and whether or not they're passionate about the product and the industry.
Very true.
So I think this is your first C-level spot. I mean, an awesome career so far and tons of, accomplishments, but I think this is your first C-level role. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay. So let's ask a couple of questions around that. I think two parts here. What advice would you give to somebody that wants to get to C-level? They're trying really hard to get to C-level. So what advice to reach that goal? And then what advice would you give when you first get there? Go ahead.
Great. So I'd say the most important thing, and this is advice for everybody, is that you need to establish your why statement. What is it that attracts you to that level? What are you trying to accomplish? What does it bring to you in your overall professional development? I think it's very important that you find those folks that you see as good examples, the mentors in your life, and that you commit to meeting with them regularly. So seek them out and establish a regular cadence where you're in front of them and you're just soaking up everything that you can from them. And likewise, continually invest in self-examination and education of yourself.
It's good. I think as you get older, right, I think we all realize how critical those mentors are, those people you can call. I don't know if you were like me, but when I was in my 20s, my 28-year-old self, I thought I knew everything and I was super cocky, right? I didn't reach out to mentors like I should have. Gosh, I wish I would have done so much more of that when I was younger. Great advice. And I agree. Have some mentors that you can lean on. Professionally, what's your Super Bowl moment so far? Let's call it biggest accomplishment. I know you've had a bunch, but if you had to just pick one that you're super proud of so far in your career, what would that be?
It was most recently my experience at Honeybee Robotics. It was my Super Bowl moment, ironically, as I was making the transition to leave Honeybee and to come to Roccor. And it all had to do with the team that had, come together and been built in the operations group. And the fact that, I gave a month's notice between jobs, and the organization that was my team there at Honeybee is still near and dear to my heart. And, I immediately took a back seat and I was available to support them. And what was my Super Bowl moment was that they were so able to lean in, and to a person, they understood why I was leaving, and they all leaned in to continue on and support Honeybee. And it was really fantastic because you can't ask for anything more as a team leader.
That's great. It really speaks to your leadership for sure, and the fact that those people respected you and supported you even on your way out. That's awesome. What about I don't know if I hate to use the word mistake, but how about something in your career so far you look back and you go, gosh, I wish I would have done that differently, but you learned from it. What example would you give us?
That's a tough one.
That's
one I have to think about.
I'm assuming, even though you're super awesome and your career is awesome, I'm assuming there's something in there. There's some missteps somewhere, or maybe you turned left and you wish you would have gone right. Maybe at some point. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share.
Yeah, that's absolutely, definitely there's the case, but I haven't meditated on that one to actually think of an example, Steve. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. And how about this then? Let's ask it this way. If you looked back, if you could go back and talk to your 21-year-old self today, what advice would you give young Heather?
That's a great one. I've really been fortunate in the experiences that I've been able to have. But what I would say is focus a lot more on being present and taking full advantage of all of the opportunities to learn in the situation that you're currently in. There's a lot of value, like I said, in mentors, but in also your peers and your colleagues. So soak up everything that you can, really be present and be in the moment and take advantage as you go, from each step in your career.
I want to tie that to a podcast I did real quick on first-time CEOs and some advice I gave. I think, I don't know if you run the stats on it or if you Google it, I think the average CEO lasts 3.5 years or something like that. Some crazy stats that shows that the stress level or whatever, there's usually a change right around then. And my advice was, just be present. Just try not to worry about, what's next, or what am I going to do if this doesn't work out, or what's next for my career, or any of that. Just be present, be in the moment, just enjoy the moment, learn from it. I couldn't agree more. That's good. Really appreciate that answer. And then last question, just wrapping up here. By the way, I had a mentor ask me this question, and for people that listen to our podcast, they probably get tired of me telling this story. But I had a mentor, challenge me, and he said, "Steve, what's your core purpose?" And the challenge came when he made me go a lot deeper than just giving something generic like, I want to be a good husband, or I want to take care of my family, or I want to do good in the world, which I think is pretty standard for most people. He pushed me further and just really wanted me to think about what my core purpose was professionally at this stage in my life, because I think it changes for most people as they move along. So for you now, in this moment professionally, what would you say Heather's core purpose is?
It's really interesting, and I love this question because it is different. My answer today is much different than it would have been 26 years ago when I was just starting out. And I was really fortunate to have worked in a lot of great places with a lot of really great leaders that I was able to learn from. And I would say my core purpose, with Roccor especially, is to support the growth. And beyond that, really to be that person, that mentor that other people can, talk to and I can share my advice with. Because as I look back, even though it's hard to believe, there's 26 years of experience, good, bad, and otherwise, that I can share. And, really to kind of keep those relationships going and cultivate those new leaders that are seeking information, and just regardless of whether they're at Roccor or whether they're anywhere else in my network, keeping in touch and seeing what I can do for those folks.
And that's what's going to end up being the most rewarding for you professionally later in life, I think, if it's not already, and it probably is. At least for me, and I'm 51 years old, and I've held a couple of C-level spots now, and when I look back on my career, when I'm having one of those camping moments by the campfire and maybe a cold beer, and I'm reflecting on life, it really is about the people that you mentored and developed and coached and and you watched them grow in their career. I mean, that just means so much more than any of the bonuses or any of the money as you get older. So I think that's a great core purpose to have. I appreciate you sharing that. Well, Heather, I could keep you on the phone for a lot longer. You guys are in a really cool industry, and it sounds like you're ramping up for growth, and so that's going to it's challenging enough to move into a C-level spot for the first time as it is, but if you're in a growth situation, it's going to be even more fun and challenging. So I wish you the best on everything, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Steve, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to be here.
You bet. Take care. Bye-bye. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.